Welcome, everybody, back here at the Arcane Archive. That's right. Once more, we have another, just deliciously special selection of stories for you guys today with another amazing installment of Cautionary Chronicles. That is correct, y'all. Today's stories are honestly, surprisingly, rather upbeat, all things considered. Oh, what'd you say, Sammy?
I'd say better than normal, yeah.
I mean, overall, nothing too crazy. All more so just kind of wacky hijinks more than anything. I think maybe just one that's a little bit darker of
Just
theme and vibe.
not as depraved as we're used to.
Yeah, or even depressing, or even rage-inducing. Again, except for maybe one of them. But even this, the
I
actual contents are
Adam,
relatively
I can
okay.
find rage in any of these.
Oh,
Don't
yes, yes. No, don't get me wrong. I'm sure we can absolutely find the rage, but it's not so compelling. It's not so just uncontrollably infuriating.
I miss the
Instead,
rage.
though,
Yeah.
it's not like a Hulk moment. You know what I mean? It's not like a straight Hulk
Yeah.
moment. But that being the case, yo, we're so happy you guys could come back and play with us again, as always, to kind of see all the funny little moments. If you guys like what we're doing here, be sure please to like and comment on the video. Will help us out immensely. Let us know your thoughts on these stories and kind of anything going on, your personal experiences. Subscribe and share the channel if you haven't already. And as always, let's go ahead and just dive right back down into the archive. Starting us off today, the first story is titled The Unlucky Dwarf by Dragon in Boots. Now, this particular story, it's not a particular horror story, really, but it's one that I personally just felt like a strong kinship and synergy with, because I, too, often have suffered from what this individual has suffered here. So let's go ahead and let's just share in their cumulative pain together, trauma bonding and all that. So I really don't know if this really counts as a horror story, but my group may be made mostly by newbies. The GM is the only veteran, but this is his first time actually GMing. But we all openly communicate with each other. There's no entitlement, no main character syndrome, no DNPC stomping on our feet, and we're really just doing great and having a lot of fun. OP, that's great. Love it. That's awesome. Keep it up. We, again, love to hear that here. There's only one problem. Uh-oh. To put some more context, I'll share the composition of our party. We have a half-elf cleric, a human warlock, and finally, the warrior dwarf. Our protagonist for this story is the dwarf, played by my best friend. She's great at role-playing her character as an old, gruff, grisly, but caring lady dwarf who has been exiled by her clan and has become rather bitter for it. And it's great when she and the similarly old half-elf cleric basically play as kind of an adoptive family for my 33-year-old human warlock. Now, trouble just always seems to arise when the dice start to roll. The dwarf has the most abysmal luck I have ever seen with dice. It's honestly almost astonishing. During combat, she's supposed to be our melee attacker, and yet rarely can she even manage to ever hit the enemy. She has the highest survival stats, but somehow comes out as unaware during exploration of the wild, which is particularly hilarious that by contrast, my noble background, pampered warlock, and the cleric, who has barely left his temple in eons by comparison, look like seasoned survivalists. She's tried to intimidate bandits by rolling a strength check instead of a charisma one, which was both allowed and encouraged by our GM, and ended up getting told to sit down, Granny. There are a myriad of other examples, but I believe I've made it clear enough. Again, it's not like it's really a problem per se, at least not in the most, general sense. We're still happily playing all together, and she is an absolute joy to roleplay with, and during combat, she even manages to be a very functional tank. It's just basically becoming a hilarious meme in our group that the dice gods must be absolutely furious with her for some reason. End quote. Now, this is a particular thing I think that can absolutely occur in campaigns and groups and such, where you just have like maybe one or maybe even two players who just have the most just abysmal luck in rolling dice. I have been there so much. Like this is this thing. I felt such a connection to this because I'm like, man, I have been there, bro. I literally in one session rolled 3, I think maybe even 4 nat ones in a row. Now, the irony of it is that during that particular session or in that moment, all of the player characters except for one were basically like possessed by like ghosts or otherworldly entities or something like that. And we were all fighting each other. So I literally cast like an upcast Scorching Rays spell at one of my party members or one of my teammates and ended up rolling like nat ones like for almost all of them. And like ended up inadvertently knocking myself out because we were using like a critical fail table at that time too, and ended up knocking myself out instead. So in a way, I guess it technically worked to our advantage almost, because I ended up just knocking myself out instead of deliberately or accidentally killing one of our other party members, or not accidentally, but you know what I mean. But it's still just hey, plausible deniability, you know what I mean? Wink, wink. But it's still just absolutely that moment will forever remain burned in my memory as being just one of the most redonkulous moments of dice rolling luck, like RNG. It was crazy. Literally in a row, I rolled a nat 1. And then you have to like roll again on the fumble table, which I then rolled another nat 1. And then I rolled another nat 1 for the second for the second ray or whatever that I was going. I think I hit with 1, and then I think I hit with a couple, and then I had like 2, maybe 3 more rays. And I rolled like again 4 nat 1s in a row. And because of that, took myself out before I could fire the final ray. And it was just like, wow. Like it's a crazy feeling, and that's not the last time that's happened either. I've rolled nat 1s multiple times in a row. Hell, I've rolled like nat 1s I think 3 times before where I had like disadvantage on I had advantage on the rolled 2 nat 1s, had lucky, re-rolled 1 more time and got another nat 1. Like, I'm telling you, shit, I can't even make this shit up. Like it was just, again, the fact that it has happened, not to such an extent where it's like rare per se. Like I'm like, oh hey, there it is. I'm not surprised at all. But to be fair, I have also had my fair share of incredible lucky moments too. I remember one moment not too long ago where my team was fighting basically an Oberith demon that we had unwittingly released from the confines of an ancient artifact because it was possessing an NPC that my character was connected to. And he basically dropped meteors down on us, meteor swarmed. And we were level 7 at the time. And just obliterated much of us. But I got exceedingly lucky because, well, I guess I got exceedingly unlucky first because my first death save, I rolled, guess what? A nat 1. For my first,
you did so good.
Yeah, for my first death save, instantly failing two death saves from that. And as my character was the only one left, we were basically like in this coliseum when it happened, or this fight arena, and our little halfling player character showed back up, and she was all out of spell slots, but she's an artificer, and so she made specifically an alchemist artificer, and so we were able to homebrew kind of this thing where she could create these healing darts that she could like place in her crossbow or slash pistol, and she could fire at friendlies to heal them from far away, even if she ran out of spell slots. Which, luckily, because I was unconscious, she was at disadvantage for the shot, but my AC was lowered because I was unconscious. and she literally got the exact number she needed, or maybe it was one higher. I think my AC at that point was like a 14 from my armor, 14, maybe 15 from my armor, and she rolled a 15 to hit me, even at disadvantage, which was like, and again, right was I was technically on like last death save, and the Oberith was going to go next in the initiative order. So the only reason my character survived most likely is because she was able to get that clutch moment in there. So again, say all that to say, I have my moments, both good and bad, though infamously for some crazy bad moments for sure. What about you, Sam? You ever had some crazy terrible luck or even crazy great luck?
No, I'm a pretty like middle of the road roller. Like I usually do all right. Um,
Must be nice.
we had a couple moments with my current character on Tuesdays that I've just gotten like a turn where I had like 2 crits in a row, or I'd crit on a sneak
I've had
attack
some of
3.
those
Like
too, to be
I've had,
fair.
I've crit on a sneak attack 3 turns in a row, like stuff like that, where it's like we have one good combat, and like like it's going really bad for like
The most of it,
4
yeah.
rounds, and like the last 3 rounds, me and our barbarian just go ham.
And just start obliterating all adversaries.
Oh yeah, but I it's not like a specific moment, at least not for a long time. I've had some
Mm.
just clever things, like I got the simulacrum wish thing, that was fun. But that's more just me being a piece of shit than
That's more you
yeah. I
cajoling the rules of the game to your
No,
favor.
it's me talking in a sidebar to our wizard and being like, "Hey, what
Hmm.
spells do you have?"
Yeah, hey, you want to do something fun?
I
You
was
want
like, "Hey, did
to
you take wish too?"
you want to do something fun here? Like, yeah, the
Hey, let's
infinite
do some quick math real
simulacrum.
quick. But yeah, I wouldn't say I have any particularly big like moments like that. Most of the
Oh my
time,
god.
I think my worst moments have all been my best like rolling moments have all been fails. Like when I snuck into a cavern as a little chipmunk as a druid, and then I got ambushed by 4 mind flayers and they mind blasted me to death. And
I mean,
the first turn I made every stun save, and then the rest of the like after that first round, I was like really hopeful,
yeah.
and then the next round started, and I immediately got fucked over and
Just
lost the first
literally
stun save, and I
mind
died.
effed. You got mind effed for
I
real.
died. There was no. He's like, I'll give you like 3 chances
Yeah.
to save, and then he was like, no, you're done. Like he's
Yeah,
like, you don't know what happens. The game just fades to black, and your
yeah.
character's
I
gone.
mean,
And
yeah,
I was like,
your mind got scrambled literally.
I
Like,
was so sad.
I mean, that was you just kind of being stupid and
No, I was no.
scouting alone into an
Yeah.
illithid
I had
compound
no
or
idea there were
fortress.
gonna be illithid
Yeah,
there.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Hey, you never know. You
It's
never know.
but yeah, no, I would say I had more just unfortunate rolls than anything else. But
Yeah.
I usually roll decent enough that it doesn't matter.
I
Like I
mean
do all right for
that yeah
myself.
that sounds nice. I can never I feel like for myself
I have a ton of bad
I
rolls,
can
just
never really
letting
get
you
that
know.
middle of the road. Just I would love that. I would love to just have middle of the road consistency rather than it being like almost feeling predominantly like low to abysmal to then being like astronomically high, just crazy. Where I'm just like, I just love some consistency, just some middle average consistency here or there instead of it being just on one just overwhelming end of the spectrum or the other where you're just like, I mean, it feels good to succeed astronomically for sure, but at the same time it also
Yeah.
sucks to fail so abysmally. Like,
Yeah, the
Jesus,
reality is though, you
the
just
emotional roller coaster is very exhausting. I'll tell you that. It's just like,
I did in the new Pathfinder game, I have had like 2 turns where I've rolled 3 natural ones. Or
yeah,
and a crit fails because
crit
in
fails.
Pathfinder
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
a
the
bit
same.
different. No, yeah, it's a bit different
But
where you can
I did
crit
roll
more.
three crit fails in a row, 2 turns in a row with a
Yeah.
bow, and that did make me not want to play Pathfinder again, which we've since remedied. But like, yeah, that really pissed
Yeah,
me off.
yeah, it's a feeling, man. It definitely doesn't feel awesome.
Yeah.
But I think with that we've touched on this particular topic as much as we can. Let's go ahead and move on to the next story for the day, y'all. Samuel, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, I got DMs. That's right, plural. Engineer game against me, then eject me for lawful RPing by Standard War 8625. Oh boy. Okay.
Here we go, y'all. Buckle up.
Yeah. Hey y'all. First time, long time, and I very much appreciate the avenue to finally express this story fully. First up, a little background. So I was mostly a Call of Cthulhu Shadowrun kid coming up, but I always wanted like a proper meat and potatoes D&D experience. So when a group of dudes I knew offered to finally start up a regular game, I was way excited. I bought the at the time 4th edition new starter set.
Oh
I rolled up a
boy,
Wood
it's
Elf Paladin.
4E.
Yeah.
Oh
I I rolled up a Wood
boy.
Elf Paladin and basically ran to the first session with bells on and all my materials at the ready. I would be joining 2 rotating DMs, both of whom also had player characters, a human sorcerer and a half-orc druid, and another player,
A new player at
a
that.
new player, a human ranger, and another longtime friend of the DMs, a Kender rogue.
Oh god, a Kinder. Oh
Yep.
god, a
Right
Kinder. No,
away, I'm
no.
right away I'm told everything I prepared is wrong, as these DMs only accept 3.5 edition and won't be switching mechanics ever. Parentheses, remember this, it becomes important. Being
Uh-oh.
the eager sap, I say no problem. Then I start to transpose my character into 3.5. Then I'm hit with my second red flag. The narrative we will be playing out is apparently a sequel to this massive years-long campaign the DMs and the Kender Rogue played out previously during college. The human sorcerer is a returning character, and the world itself is a crazy, complex amalgamation of Dragonlance, Eberron, and Forgotten Realms, all of which I'm
Oh
only passingly
no.
familiar with at this point.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know. The entire time I was in this party, I pleaded for some sort of primer or even a quick download of what the story was so far, which apparently involved the world being completely rebooted once. Oh, wow. You went New 52, huh?
Who would have thought, right?
And
Oh, an
yeah,
amalgamation of 3 completely separate
separate
freaking
playing areas.
environments and settings all together, and you had to reset the
Yay.
world once? Wow.
Yay.
Who could have ever just possibly foreseen this?
Yeah. And the human sorcerer becoming the world's leading religious figure, but never got it. But
How is
again, I tried to make do, trying my best to play my character as I thought he should be played and keeping my actions within the lawful good territory. And for a bit, the game was actually pretty fun. We played through a castle siege, ousted a necromancer from a keep, which then became our base, and it was generally a good time. But as we progressed, I started to notice that as I was the only lawful good character, the Kender Rogue took a special interest in messing with me. I guess trying to find some sort of Flint Tasselhoff vibe for the party, but it was always weirdly petulant. I was it was framed as role-playing moments, but mechanically he would just constantly steal either quest items or weapons, and the DMs would allow him to whisper what he was trying to steal to them before rolls, and then you would try to use something and they would say it wasn't in your equipment anymore. And the higher he would roll, the more important the item he would be taking. This happened constantly and often would put me and only me on the back foot for combat encounters, and went far beyond just Kender misplacing as it progressed. Then came the shift to Pathfinder. Oh boy. In the middle of our 5th session, the Kender Rogue and Human Sorcerer DM had this massive fight about a spell, down to pulling out older volumes of rule books and grinding the game to a halt mid combat to try and prove their stances right. Kender Rogue eventually huffs and puffs and then suddenly says this wouldn't have happened if we were just playing Pathfinder. So the Human Sorcerer DM screams back that if he wants that, then by God he'll get it. So now I have to translate my character and find comparable equipment a third time with a rulebook I don't even know or own for that matter. So now I'm both lost narratively and mechanically, but I still want to play because in parentheses because nobody told me no D&D is better than bad D&D yet. So I'm still trying to be the group's tank. The Kender Rogue then takes a super weird turn. Now instead of stealing, he's trying to goad my character into unlawful acts. Casual murder, cruelty towards NPCs, just whatever opportunity presents. The
Ugh.
DMs think that this is hilarious, and now these impasses are starting to show up in narrative. I was forced into working with evil wizards, I failed a death save during a boss fight and was told my god didn't allow me into heaven, which I had to turn into a character development, and was constantly shouted down when I objected in character to nonsense, then harangued into, quote, not being a because I was holding the game up. This comes to a head during our 10th session, where we come across a town that is under the thrall of a lich who is trying to sacrifice the townspeople to these wells of magic that will spawn more horrors if they are activated. We engage, but I am trying to focus on keeping innocents out of the wells. and ask the party for help, especially the ranger because he's a pretty decent ranged sniper and has coded sleep darts from our loot table. But they all move down the map out of earshot. Love that. A townsperson slips by me, a child no less. My turn is interspersed with the rest of the party's push forward. I try a non-lethal attack. I'm told it's not enough to knock him out after my roll. I try a grapple. I'm told he slips from my grasp after my roll. I try to wrap him in a rope. I'm told the rope snaps after my roll. I'm begging for someone to help me, a tanglefoot bag, a spell, anything. They, quote, don't hear me, end quote, and continue the fight.
Oh my God, bro, why? Why are you
I
still
know,
here?
I
Why
know,
is he continuing with this?
I know. Well, he admitted it himself.
But I
He
mean,
he
but
wasn't
no.
aware that this was a problem. He thought, well, I
Oh,
mean,
I mean, a lot of this is all. I mean, obviously, red flags for certain
he's
and
never played.
sure.
I mean, he never played D&D. Maybe this is just
But
how D and
it's
D is.
but it's not like I'm thinking he's clearly not having fun. Like he's clearly in a state of distress right now, and it's like,
Yeah,
bro. I mean, I get it, is but I just again, it's like just be like don't play this game if it's gonna cause you this stress. Like I get it. No, I feel like no one else should have to tell you that though. No one else should be like, hey, are you having fun, champ? Nah, dad. In fact, it's incredibly emotionally distressful and depressing or debasing. It's like, you should probably go ahead and get on out of there, bucko. Then that sounds like it's a right plumb not great time. Like it's like they're literally just straight up ignoring you. Like they aren't even playing with you at this point. Like
yeah.
I
It's not
feel
good. It's
bad. I
not good.
feel
It's not
bad.
good.
Feel bad for this
Um,
guy. I'm sorry. This is a shitty first experience. This is so fucked. Sorry, continue.
Finally, with no spell slots and nothing else that could hold him, I try a pommel strike, not knowing that in Pathfinder it's not a dazing attack, it's just an attack. The DM half orc informs me that not only is the kid dead, but he also fell into the well, spawning a whole other wave. All of which are now focused on me. And the kicker, since I've killed an innocent despite his possession by the Lich, all my paladin powers are stripped and my attuned weapon and mount are now inactive. I'm devastated. I ask the rest of the party why they didn't help, and the Kender Rogue simply says, we wanted to see what you would do.
See, yeah, that is the clear. I knew he was gonna say that. That is the clear response. 'Cause, yeah, they literally were just waiting for him to fuck up or do something that they could then justify. We're gonna take your powers away because that's what everyone always wants to do with the paladin. They
Yeah,
always
it's
want to be
so
like,
sad.
yeah, you broke your oath. You, it's like, bro, go. God, dude, it is the most aggravating shit ever. Like, come on,
Yeah.
bro. Come on, man.
Um,
I fucking knew it, dude. It's just I have interacted and played with people like this, like
Oh yeah.
before.
I
Like
mean
they are
if I
just
ever got in a group like this, I would immediately rescind my oath, become an oath breaker, and murder them.
yeah. He's like, you know what? Fine, fuck
Um
it. Yeah,
all
Oathbreaker. I
right,
still got my powers, bro. I'm gonna fucking incinerate
they're
you now.
different now. I'm gonna fear
Yeah,
you and then kill you
yeah,
in a corner.
yeah. I get a lot of bonuses to damage too now. So I'm just going to straight up. I'm gonna help these demons and devils now murder all of you because they all
Yep,
get bonuses because I'm near
yep,
them.
yep. I'm just gonna turn right to the Lich and go, I'll become
Yeah, I'm your knight.
your
I'm your
death
knight,
knight.
but yeah, I'm your death knight,
And there
bud.
you
Let's
go.
go.
Um he then steals my sword and mount piece after I'm downed. No one ever healed or buffed me because I, quote, don't need them anymore, and the fight continues. After the session, I'm trying to get some clarity about what happened, and all the half orc DM tells me is that I need to be checked because I was being pissy about everyone's fun.
There you
I
go.
point out that I'm just playing my character in class, and he flatly tells me, yeah, well, it's more fun to see heroes fall. And
Boom.
when I
See.
press about this, citing that it's pretty shitty to hamstring the party's only tank, he admits that the whole set piece was planned with the other DM.
Yep.
With this
Yep.
very outcome in mind, nothing I could have done would have mattered, even if I would have rolled insane amount of nat 20s. The kid was always going to target me, always going to die, always going to trigger the trap.
Yep.
The only choice I would have would be deadly force, and both DMs were gleefully excited about that.
Yep.
Admittedly, I lose it. Not only am I really sad, but I feel like a total idiot for staying as long as I did with a party that was actively screwing with me over,
For
you
a
know,
goof. Yeah,
for a
they're
goof.
screwing him over for a goof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell them this if this is the case, then I'm going to be working against them in the future sessions. And once more, I'm insulted and called pissy for reacting the way I did. I immediately after I stop going to sessions and tell the DMs to just write me out if this is the way they want to play. I never played or talked to this group again, but was told by the human ranger after that, my character died of white knight syndrome later after running into them. This was around 2010 to 2011, and I've only just now this year started to play games again. I'm actually having a blast now. Thank you all for the time and platform to finally expel this to players and DMs that would understand. TLDR, rotating DMs, stat game mechanics, and narrative against me as a gag. Oh,
Again, same thing as last post. Like I resonate with this one a lot because I have been in exact situations just like this, where you have people who you think are like, you're trying to play and have like a cool time. You think that they're chill. You think that, you're all kind of friends, or at least trying to be friends. And then in reality, they're just literally setting you up to get to fuck with you, to just poke at you, to watch you, fall, or to make fun of you behind your back. Like it is always an exceedingly shitty thing. And I'm sorry, OP. Like again, before, when I was aggravated that you didn't leave, like it was like, I understand, this is your first experience and you wanted to play. And getting that high of the chance to play, and it's like it's hard to be able to leave, and you want to give it everything you got. But you know what? At the end of the day, you learned, and you left of your own volition. Like, and I don't judge you at all for losing it, because you had every right to. This is some absolutely effed shit. Like, this is messed up, and I hate this kind of shit the most. Like, and I've been there before, so I feel for you, man. I really do. I'm really sorry. That
it makes me sad. I do love the comment. If they seriously said white knight, they're 4chan or manosphere guys and should be fired into the sun anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, like they're all clearly a
And this
bunch
was
of
in
incel
2010,
neckbeard punk
which is
asses.
before
Like,
the whole manosphere, whatever the fuck it is now. So that's even worse because they were bad back then. Yeah, like I feel bad, obviously, but like again, I don't quite understand. I was never I never had to be told that if you weren't enjoying something,
I
stop.
mean, that's the thing. Like, I'm sure that there were
This seems a
moments maybe
lot
that.
worse than just, oh, I'm not having a good time. This was like
Well, that's what I'm
people were
saying.
actively insulting me to my face at
He's
a
clearly
table.
being triggered, like, or not even triggered, but he's clearly in distress. Like, it's
He's
like
being hurt by
you
this.
can even tell during like much of like the thing where he's just like he's it's stressing to be like, okay, like, I mean, hell, even these guys having shouting matches with each other about how a spell's supposed to work, and then basically like, oh well, this wouldn't happen if we played Pathfinder. Like,
You're playing 3.5, which is just
3.5. I mean, yes. Where do you think Pathfinder came from? Like, what? Like, I mean, it's heavily predicated on the same kind of basic principle. Like people who worked at WotC again switched and made what is it? I forget the name of their company. But it either way, like this. Okay. So I knew offered to finally start a regular game. So what I also don't understand is they were going to start up a regular game, and they didn't specify that they were only doing 3.5. And once again, it's hilarious that literally just out of spite and rage, the dude was like, oh, you say this wouldn't happen in Pathfinder? If you want Pathfinder, then by God, Pathfinder you'll get. Even though they literally said earlier that they would never play anything else except for 3.5. So what happened to that? You switch over to Pathfinder? Which again is like, that's not going to change necessarily how a spell should work. Like, getting in, like, oh God. And I knew right away, as soon as the dude was like, I'm playing a Kinder Rogue. It's like,
yeah.
that they're immediately just going to start taking all of your shit and trying to justify it on the fact that you're a Kinder and be like, what? It's just part of my character. That's just my racial trait, bro. I just don't understand, object ownership or whatever. So what's yours is mine. And you're like, cool. My character just so happens to not know that I shouldn't chop the hands off of thieves because that's how he was raised in his culture. So he's gonna cut your hands off now. Like what, like, and I don't know. I get it. Again, I just like we both said. Like, it's difficult for me. Like, I understand he probably did have some fun. He finally got the chance to play, and anybody who plays who really loves the game and is looking for this, like, even the smallest moments, right? The seemingly small, like you just get this huge high, this super euphoric hit where you're just like, this is so fun, this is so awesome. Even if
Yeah, but
it's
I didn't see any of that in there. I'm sorry. Like,
no, I
and
didn't
like that's
either.
again, I get it. I know for some people like it's hard because like this is your only avenue. But man, you'd be better off just I mean, this was also a long time ago, so finding it is easier now than it used to be, but fuck me. I just don't like these people are actively hating on my character, fucking with me, insulting me as a person to my face during sessions. Like, look, I play with friends, but if someone legitimately came, like, even my friends came to me and said shit like that, I'd be like, go fuck yourself. Like, no, there's
I
no
mean,
way.
here's one thing I will
There's
say
no
too,
way.
though. Like the OP does specifically state that they were mostly a Call of Cthulhu slash Shadowrun kid coming up, so they're not actually like brand new to the TTRPG
No,
community
just
or
to
experience,
D&D.
just D&D. So it's like, so that even more so just makes me feel like, why would you stay as long as
Why?
you did? Like, once it was pretty clear that these people, I mean, these guys almost right from jump seem to give, you know, just astronomical red sun level, like red, alerts. It's
Yeah.
like after they started literally berate, like, why would you, like, again,
Why?
unless you literally would just do it for the memes, like I would maybe stay just to watch this train wreck, right? I wouldn't be taking this seriously. Like I would literally just be like, okay, let's just see how far this can go before everything just implodes in on itself. Because they literally already said reboot, and that the human sorcerer is the world's leading religious figure. They have two switching GMs who each also have a player character, which it's not impossible for that to not be problematic, I suppose. Like, in fact, there is absolutely a possibility for that to be an interesting kind of like dynamic shift in a way, but it would be exceedingly rare and difficult to be able to execute that for real. Yeah, nope, just yeah. Again, he did say, to be fair, he did say, and for a bit the game was actually pretty fun. So there was at least some indication of like, okay, you had those moments that felt really great, and
Okay.
but as you know, yeah, the issue being is that the every other one, yeah, and no, as soon as the Kinder Rogue took a special interest in messing with me, like no, no, that is when I would have been like, nope, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work at all. Like I will actively start just obliterating people at that point. Like if you're gonna deliberately try to again screw with me for no other reason than because you think it's funny or you trying to just whatever, like I will kill you. I will. Like I will kill your character. I
Oh
will
my
just
god.
obliterate them. Like I'm not even kidding because I'm just like I do not tolerate that kind of mindset, that shit, because it's because of shit like this. Like this again, I've had personal experiences with like bullying and shit like that before, as well as just like this is just heartbreaking in terms of just like,
It
wow.
really is. It really, really
Like it,
is.
and again, like while like for both, I've been in this exact same position, and it is true. That's just like, I absolutely can say that I was a very naive person when I was younger. Like, because for me, it was just logical. It was like, why would they have any reason to do this? Why would they have any reason to act this way? I haven't done anything to them. I haven't, insulted them, or seemingly, at least not intentionally. Like, I haven't intentionally harmed them in any way, shape, or form. So why would they be trying to intentionally harm me or screw with me in any way, shape, or form? And, that's at the end of the day, you got to learn that lesson. And it is unfortunate because it's like, yeah. And it just, so nowadays, some shit like that happens, you got to shut that shit down immediately. Do not give bullies any leeway to think that their behavior is in any way tolerable or will be accepted or tolerable in any way. Like I will go full freaking nuke on anyone who tries to start some shit like this. Again, there's a difference between it being like, fun little razzing and with good intention, right? And
Yeah.
in good faith and good spirit, where you're like, yeah, these two characters are personality wise a bit opposing, right? One is a little bit more chaotic, another one is a little bit more lawful, and it can be really fun trying to be able to reconcile that or deal with kind of the clash between personalities. but the whole point is that the two characters do still legitimately mutually respect and consider and have consideration and affection for one another. And obviously, this is not the case here. So if anybody's gonna try to do that shit, to also abuse mechanics to try and do that shit, like I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like again, that's one of the biggest things with rogues, right? That's why rogues are one of the most infamous of classes, is because of their skills, their skill proficiencies and expertise. Because they can be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna steal anything from everybody because I can just roll super high so you can't notice it. And it's like,
no.
cool. Okay. All right. Sure. You take that. I find out again, I'm gonna cut your hands off. Like, it's like if like like
For
I'm
fuck's
gonna notice
sake.
I'm gonna notice my shit's gone at some point, and you're the
Cut
only
your hands off.
you're the only individual who has been rather suspicious or kind of like whatever. So hey, here we go. We're going full, just savage, like, fantasy or medieval times. Let's do it. Let's go for broke. And it's just like, yeah, no, it's goodness gracious. Let's go ahead. Let's move on, I think. Next one up, we have story titled A Metagamer, a Rules Haggler, and a Manipulator Walk into a Session. Spoilers, they're all the same player. By Mr. Blue the Zombie. Okay, some really quick background on the story. The original post was like 3 paragraphs long before I got into details, so I'm really trying here, you guys, I swear. So I run my own homebrew setting on 3.5. Hey, another 3.5 post. And later on Pathfinder. Hey, another 3.5 to Pathfinder switch. We have
Nice.
we have today's theme, you guys. And as the campaigns come to an end, I give the current players the option for their characters to become either an active NPC, basically a quest giver in the world, since they now have the fame, money, and or status to have lower level adventurers run their errands for them, or even become a new GM in my world if they want to. And one of my original players decided to do just this thing and have me as a support / co-GM. That means I help with ideas or lore when asked about them specifically, but usually have her write and run her own stuff and have her creative freedom and choice of party members and rules and everything. So at one point, she gets a player in her group of 6 total players. Let's call him Clown. And since I only visited their sessions from time to time, I didn't really get to know him that well personally. But from the first 2 to 3 sessions I did have, I got a rather bad vibe about him. He kept interrupting the session with, actually, quotes and notes, never casted a spell the right way if it was to his advantage, and only if. He kept trying to min-max his cleric, but then still trying to not look like he was doing so, even though it wasn't a particular issue with min-maxers by either myself or the other GM. We both had some previously. They were nice gamers. He kept trying to manipulate other players' actions both in and out of combat and kept using meta information, as in, but I was there. I wrote it down in my journal, see? Even though it might have been a completely private conversation between some characters, PCs and or NPCs, without his character being present at all. He was also constantly late to the sessions, with more and more stupid excuses, where at some point, it literally just became a joke among the party. Generally, he was just getting more and more frustrating as the campaign continued, but everyone either ignored him enough to the point of not caring or trying to even defend him, since he was the one they brought to the party. At some point, I talked with the GM over the phone and asked her why she's keeping this player in the group. He's an asshole, a problematic player. He doesn't listen or respect anyone other than himself and his ideas. And he only ever shuts up about something when everyone tells him to. Her original response was, nah, he's not that bad. When he wants to, he can actually roleplay quite well. And he actually does know what he's doing and how the spells work. He just acts like that to get his way. Dude, that's way worse than him just being a moron who can't read. But again, I'm there for support, not to make any decisions on her story or game style. Only thing I can do is just offer a suggestion and be there when she needs a little bit of assistance. A while later, COVID hits. So we start playing over Discord and Roll20 with all the bad and the good that brings. The clown keeps doing the same things, has the same attitude, and even when we called him out on most of his bullshit, he's like, "Oh, well, I thought that was working that way now," or, "Well, no, you misunderstood that. That's not what I meant." When it was clear as Pelor's ass crack what he meant all the time. And now that he had the comfort of playing from his house, he made it even worse by totally phasing out, playing video games when everyone was either role-playing without his character or it wasn't his turn in combat. And even though he denied it every time, others literally saw him go in on a match since they could either see him online in Steam as well as League of Legends. Oh, and he was still somehow late to the sessions, even though he was literally already at his house. He didn't even have to drive anywhere. So, naturally, I have another talk with the GM about why does she keep him around. Well, it's too far late into the campaign. I can't kick him out now. It would suck for the other players to kick out their cleric. And again, I warned her about him and how he's going to end up absolutely screwing her campaign up. And boy, was that a foreshadow. By that point, we all knew of the shitty player that he was, both in the party and even for players with their NPCs in the world. But after a while, it was more of a literal joke between all of us, and no one even spent a minute taking him seriously. After the whole COVID situation got safer and we could actually start playing over a table again, the GM started hosting the games at our house once more. And it was about time to go for the epic campaign ending. For a little context, we were running a heavily modified adventure from a 3.5 supplement with Atropos, a world-ending planetoid wrapped in an undead apocalypse. Some really epic stuff there. So the characters are all epic level by now, with a shitload of unique spells, items, and organizations and followers behind them, and the support of even 2 different nations. We decide it's going to be a long session, so we find a weekend date that works for everyone a month before the final session. We run everything until a week before that and then go straight for the final one. Everyone's about an hour before the session. We have big snacks and stuff, soda and candy at the table. Players are talking about in-game and out-of-game stuff, all excited and ready for what comes next. Everyone's there, but the clown. The GM sends a message to the group chat. No reply. Sends him a personal message. No reply. Calls him on the phone. No reply. So, knowing him well enough by now, she just says, F that, not gonna wait for him. Let's roll! The session starts, and the GM decides to give me minor control of his character, aka use any spells or abilities, but don't roleplay his character. Yeah, I was there to offer support after all, so... And she runs a very dark atmosphere with a horror-esque kind of vibe to it. Everyone's starting to kind of realize that they may have bitten off more than they can chew. A few hours go by, and the clown sends a message. He's out of town and not sure if he can make it in time for the final session, actually. Oh, boo-hoo. We're basically already halfway done anyways. The reactions on the table ended up ranging between, what the F, dude, to, yeah, no surprise there. But they all decided to just ignore him and move on with the final session. And well, hey, me being the jerk that I am, even though I didn't say anything at the moment, I did give her the old, I told you so look after this message. After the campaign ended, everyone simply ignored him, since he never actually hung out outside the game with anyone else, other than the player who had brung him to the party initially, and by then she had cut ties with him too, since he was a total asshole and creep outside the game. P.S. You could say that it was the wrong party, table, GM, whatever, but after COVID hit, we started another campaign with one of the players GMing a one-shot adventure where the clown had the exact same attitude of, actually, rules haggling and being 2 hours late to the first session and always using his spells so wrong, it ended up hurting us more than the enemies. What a great guy. End post. Yeah, this, again, GMs, when you see a guy who's, I will say, GMs, I understand and I get the whole aspect or concept of like, if you're like getting further on in a game, it's difficult for you to justify maybe kicking somebody. But I would say again, if they're hurting the game, there's no point in it because I will say, luckily, didn't seem like the problem player actually did ruin the final session. You guys still played through it yourselves. You had a great time, and it's awesome. And basically, he was just a monumental douche canoe for sure, for certain. But for sure, when you witness some stuff like this, if this is a player who's asking who's behaving like this, just kick him out. Excommunicado them just immediately. Like this is just
I
not
swear, dude. Like I don't understand why you keep him around that long.
like it, again. Like you can just if necessary, yeah. GM, you can take control of their character or bring a different character. And in fact, if you're just like, well, they need a healer or they need a whatever, fine, bring in a heal bot then. That I would say is one of the few times where, yeah, you know what? DM NPC or maybe even just a follower NPC or whatever can be perfectly justified in every way of like, you know what? This player who seemingly is, I guess, considered a vital part or piece of this party because they offer, I guess, a rather vital or necessary aspect or element. Kick them out, replace them with basically a character or a NPC that fills the same role. You know, just for what you kind of need, and until maybe you can get another player to fill that role, you know, or something or whatever. Just, but it is in no way, shape, or form conducive to actually keeping the fun alive by keeping this kind of person in your party. They are a rotten, festering wound that needs to just be exhumed, just excised. Like get just no. What do you think, Sammy? Like this?
I mean, again, the whole he's not that bad. Oh, all that shit. It's like literally the worst person to play with I've ever heard. Just the constantly being annoying, bogging down the table, not showing up. There's
I
like
mean,
18 different red flags just in like the first couple of sentences of the story that I would have been like, we're not playing with this person anymore. I don't care what you have to say. It's either me or this person because I'm not dealing with this stupid shit. Like, I know I'm harsh and we've had this discussion before that I'm a bit quick to maybe pull the trigger a little bit there, but like fuck
mm-hmm.
me, man. I don't have the time to deal with these fucking people, dude. I don't have the time. Yeah, like I'm setting all this time aside to play this fucking game. I don't have time for this. Like if I show up to my session and it was like, oh, maybe 2 hours, like I'm 2 hours late, but an hour in, I would like 30 minutes in, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Unless someone gives me something concrete, I'm out. I'm fucking done. I'm like, you're wasting my fucking time. I'm out. Thank you. Bye. Bye. No. Or we're playing without him. Fuck that guy.
I mean, that's, you
which
know,
we've had that issue in my games, and we made a rule that if you tell people more than 24 hours, so you have to give us at least a day's notice. If you say like, oh, I got scheduled at work that day or whatever, I can't make it. We won't play without you, except for like one shots or like sub
yeah.
campaigns, stuff like that.
Nothing that has the
But
narrative
if
progression. Yeah.
day of you're like, sorry guys, I can't make it. Fuck you. We're playing without you.
Yeah, no, I mean
Fuck
I
you.
think that's fair. I
We're
think it's
playing a game
perfectly
without
fair.
you.
Yeah, I
If
think
you
it's
don't show
perfectly
up, we're
fair.
starting without you. We don't care
Yeah.
anymore because we had so many issues of people just not committing, not being on time, stuff like that. So it's like if you don't show up at 5 and 7, like
Yeah.
hopefully you don't die. Like, but like if you do, fuck you. Like and these are people I actually like. So,
I mean, it's
again, I could not. Especially if they were like annoying at the table and complaining all the fucking
just an
time.
all around kind of shit bag. Like
Like I just
just,
want to
you
reach. I
know.
just want to reach through my screen and throttle
Yeah,
you.
like Bart, like Homer Simpson with Bart,
Yeah,
Simpson, just like like,
yeah,
just
yeah.
like
It's
no.
that primal anger that I want
Yeah.
to.
The fury, the true Hulk rage. I guess we are getting a little bit more Hulk rage stories too. Uh, You know,
Fucking
it's just
so dumb.
I don't understand why people make these excuses for him. Where she's literally
He's not so bad.
she literally goes like, yeah, she's like, oh, I mean, she literally says the reason on why he's even worse than what she's saying. He's like, yeah, no, he's not actually just an idiot. He's doing this on purpose. Like, it's
Which is
it's
such a
like
based translation.
it's like, wait, okay. So he's
It'd be
not he
better if he was just a petulant
again, it would
child.
be better if he was just an idiot. It would be better if he was like he was unknowingly or like you know doing, but he deliberately he is choosing to act this way in order to make himself or to give himself a better whatever. Like it's like
What the fuck,
it's
man?
deliberate. He's consciously making this decision. That's worse. That means he's a fucking terrible person too. On top of it, he's a shit person. He's not just an idiot or an annoying, frustrating, immature, you know, whatever. But he's like, at the very least, at that point, you can be like, okay, look, if he's not aware of it, if he's just that immature, you should still kick him out, most likely. But it's also just like, all right, whatever. But if he's, again, like the last story with the whole, you know, with the bullies, with the engineering, like whatever, like, if you are doing this shit on purpose, oh my God, dude, let me tell you, bro, the gloves come off, man. I will engineer and construct just ooh, God, that shit. When people want to do some shit on purpose, that it's because again, I can tolerate a lot of just shit and bullshit if people are just that unaware or stupid. Where it's just like, all right, cool. I'm not gonna keep taking it, but at the very least, I'm not gonna hate you or be like, all right, you're terrible, you're horrible, whatever. I'll be like, all right, you are exceedingly unaware, ignorant, immature, whatever. That's just you, you know? You can't expect anything else. That's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm not going to interact with you anymore if I can help it. But at the very least, you know, I don't hate you and I'm not going to blame you or whatever. But if you're doing this shit deliberately, when you have some amount or at least or total amount of awareness and consciousness in this, bro. Oh God, dude. Those are the type of people whose teeth I could just like, yeah, I could seriously give them summer teeth. Let me tell you, bro. Some are over here, some are over there, some are everywhere,
Oh,
bro.
look at
Just
you.
all right,
Yeah, not the vibe.
let's go ahead and move on to the next one. You want to go
All
ahead and
right.
take it away, Sammy?
Yeah, we got DM twin spelled power word kill on our level 7 party during a college game by Mario Fan 669.
Nice.
Nice. Uh I was recently chatting to a friend about our previous experiences with bad GMing, and one of mine came up. At the time, I didn't think it was too bad, but thinking back on it, it was pretty damn bad. He thought that I should post this because he said it literally sounded fake with how bad it was, and was shocked I hadn't yet, so here it goes. Background. I've been playing TTRPGs for about 5 years at this point, and this was during a college West Marches game, which, long story short, was a series of tables running at the same time in the same room every week, where each table could affect another. I had reached
Yes,
level
that's a
7,
lot.
which was the start of the highest tier of play in the club, meaning our sessions were often much more challenging than someone who was level 4, for example. It was loads of fun, and we reached the season finale, which was the last session before we broke up for the summer. Naturally, tensions were high since the plot that had led up to this moment had a mage, BBEG, go mad and start resurrecting the body of a giant dead god. We didn't want this to happen, so as a player base, our goal for the session was to kill the mage and stop the god from reviving. The mage had also created a whole army of clones for us to fight through, and the GM was a guy I knew well. He was experienced and he was known for not going easy, so we were all excited for the tough fight ahead. Uh, the game started with
Mm.
our ranger finding out one of our established quest giver NPCs had been kidnapped by the mage. So now, on top of a god resurrection, we had to save the NPC as well. We had reached the severed neck of the giant god, where our battle would begin proper. There were about 8 of these clones against our 6 party members. If I recall correctly, though some were pre-battle through some pre-battle banter with the mage, we also gleaned that one of the clones might actually be projected onto our NPC friend, and that one of them may be the mage herself. So we had to pick our targets carefully. Yeah, that's already great. This was the first and last
Not
game.
awesome.
No matter what we tried and how many turns we wasted, there didn't seem to be any way to tell who was the real mage and who was the clones or the NPC. A
That
potion of
see,
yeah,
no.
a potion of mind reading simply dealt psychic damage due to some strange information hazard. By the way, doesn't clone function not as there's another one of me, but
Well,
if
I
I
was gonna,
die,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
resurrected
no,
into the
that's that. I
clone.
mean, again, I'm thinking here. I'm like, okay, is this supposed to be like simulacrums? I'm thinking. I'm
Yeah,
like,
so then there
this
would be a
seems to
way
be
to tell them
functioning.
apart.
Yeah, there seem to be functioning more like to be fair, simulacrums are usually quite indiscernible from
Yeah, until
the
you get close to
original.
them and they're
But
cold.
yeah, if you get close to them, they are constructs.
Yeah,
They're not humanoid or
they don't have a
whatever.
heartbeat.
No,
Um,
they're not a living thing. So it's like there
Sometimes they
are
leave ice and snow when they walk around.
yeah,
Sometimes
there's absolutely ways of being able to
discerning.
tell the difference. Like again, you make a perception check and if they can cloak themselves in magic or whatever, but again, at level they said they're level 7.
Yeah, that's the other part. Like, I don't know if they're doing 5e. If they are, this seems a little bit much.
I mean,
But
even 3.5 would be crazy.
yeah,
Like at
yeah.
level 7,
This
3.5,
just sounds
like
like already bad DMing.
yeah, no, well,
Bad
that's
encounter design.
I mean, I mean,
Um,
well, you'll see, yeah, later on, I guess, with this because I've heard this story on some other
yeah.
channels around too, and it is a doozy.
All of the clones attacked us. All cast the same spells. All talked perfectly in unison, and all died in the same puff of energy, which is not how a clone works. I'm sure there was a clever way to deduce who was who, but the GM didn't throw us a bone at all, so we gave up and assumed the mage was lying. We killed our way through the clones one by one, each of them puffing into magic after death. Not how clone works. We were down to one enemy on the board, and thus assumed it had to be the real mage. A swift crit revealed it was our NPC ally, who was only revealed after the killing blow hit. Awesome.
Of course.
Then, which
Again,
also are you projecting that over whatever? And then the real mage drifted down from the sky, apparently invisible and flying. Can't dur- For the duration of the fight, you can't do both of those.
I
I
mean,
felt like
if it's a spell, maybe he has an item that allows him to fly or turn invisible, which is
sure.
okay, fine. But
I felt
at
like
the
there was
same time, though,
nothing.
I just like what I don't understand. Like I want to know. I would make the assumption if it's a party of 6, I assume they have spellcasters and the like. Like nobody thought to cast, see invisibility or true sights or like.
Well, I think they probably did. It sounds like they tried to do a bunch of turns
That's what I'm
trying different
saying.
things.
It's like if that didn't work, then that's just literally the
That's on the
GM's.
DM, yeah.
Yeah, that's literally the GM's just not playing the game correctly or even at all. Like this feels like a super railroad bullshit like thing, which is just sad because they said that they were super excited, and he said that the GM was a guy that they knew well, and he was experienced, and he was known for not going easy. It was like, okay, that's fine, but there's a difference between not going easy and just being a deliberate douche or a deliberate like body blender. Like it's like what is the
Right.
what is the point of this? Like again, I think we've said it before. I'm almost, if I'm positive, said it before. GMs do not arbitrarily or artificially augment the rules or how the game works, like on a fundamental level, in the name of trying to increase difficulty for your players. Okay, the obviously shit's gonna be harder if you just say, yeah, that doesn't work. Nothing you do works. That's not hard. That's not being harder. You're just being an asshole. You're just taking away any ability for them to figure shit out or do anything, which is the point of the game. So why are we playing then at all? If you're just being like, I don't want you to do this, and I want you to struggle with this. It's like struggle does not automatically equate to entertainment or enjoyment. Okay?
No.
It can be like again, we can use the whole, the whole Dark Souls, or Souls, Graceborn debate or whatever, where it's like, Dark Soul games, yes, they are fun because they can be difficult at times, and you can overcome that and you feel elation. But there's also a thing where there are plenty of aspects in Dark Souls games where certain things are just kind of hard without it really being fun or fair. I think Elden Ring got it the best, where a lot of the stuff in that game is much more fair, realistic, and you have so many options. You have options that work.
Except for the DLC. I just got in it, and the first enemy beat my ass.
The DLC is still awesome, Sam. It's great. It's just a matter of getting used to it, like with anything. I mean,
Hurt
it's
me real
just,
bad.
I know it did, buddy. I know. Hey, if you need any help, just let me know. I can
He
absolutely,
hurt me real bad.
I can absolutely help and Kiss the boo boo, make it better.
I have not emotionally recovered from it.
I'm aware. Yeah, what was the dancing lion? I assume.
Yeah, the first
Yeah.
guy.
Yep. Dancing
Yeah,
lion is most people's first.
yeah, he was
That or
cool.
the Black Knight jail, or the jail Black Knight or whatever.
Oh, cool. I haven't done that yet. That'll be fun.
Yeah, he'll be fun for you. He'll be fun for
Yeah.
you. But that being the case, that's again all to say difficulty does not automatically mean better or more enjoyable. Okay. The point of a GM is to make the game more fun and enjoyable for the party, including the GM themselves. And if the only way that you, the GM, can have fun is by, again, murdering or just obliterating your party, you might want to reconsider being a GM, because that is not the mentality that you are supposed to have at all. You want your players to succeed. That's the point.
Yeah.
Because you're literally the god. You can just like I don't see how you could ever possibly obtain any kind of actual satisfaction from being able to be like, I beat you guys in a world that I have supreme control over. Like, what? How does that make you feel like you accomplished anything? You can literally just say the planet explodes, and it's just like it's some of the most pathetic shit I have ever seen or heard when somebody wants to act like they accomplished something and feel good about something, where they're just like, yeah, I killed my party. Yep, I TPK'd them, you know. I sent a beholder ancient dragon god Tarask hybrid at them and just decimated them. Like,
Just fucking.
they had no chance. It's like,
But why though?
you feel good. You feel good about that? Like, really? What? Why? What did you actually accomplish? What did you do besides just make some stupid shit up and basically cheat? Like, again, you didn't just like you didn't beat that Dark Souls boss. You didn't beat that Elden Ring boss, at all. You didn't. You went in there. You get angry about, oh, I don't want to use summons, even though it's like that's part of the game. You can absolutely use summons. It's okay. And get angry that you can't beat the boss by yourself because you're not good enough. Okay, that's fine. You don't.
But you can. They're in the game. You can use summons. Though.
Yeah, that's the point.
I don't
Literally,
use them very often, but like,
no, same. I only ever like to use summons when it's like more story based, or if I've already beaten that boss 1v1 anyway. I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'll summon now because it's more fun. Like, so it's like, I've beaten every Elden Ring boss 1v1 at this point. Like, haven't like, so it's like I don't, so it's fun though. You can have, like, again, one of the best moments I think in the DLC. I don't know how much research you've seen, Sam, but
nope, I'm pretty blind.
there's this one NPC that, like, it's one of the only that I would recommend just summoning at least once for the fight. And it's specifically when you fight this I'll just tell you, like, his name is Bale the Dread. So
Oh
when you
no,
fight,
I always summon NPCs because I feel like that's story.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I like that
That's cool.
stuff too. Because you actually do, like, summoning, if you summon a certain NPC to fight Mesmer, that's actually part of their quest line and their story. Same thing with an NPC when you summon Bale. Like, so it's like you can still do their quest even without doing it, but you miss out on some cool
It's always cool
interactions, some
that way.
cool,
I don't know.
yeah.
It's
So there's nothing wrong with that. So point being is, stop trying to just fucking artificially insert difficulty by
no.
arbitrarily changing the rules. Anywho, please
I
continue,
think
Sam.
there's a big difference between difficulty and challenge. This just seems to be difficult for the sake of
Well,
being annoying, and like
there's
challenging is something that's like supposed to make you make hard decisions and go up against something that you might not fully understand or maybe have to take some time to figure out. But this just sounds more like
well,
this
again,
was
there's a
needlessly
difference.
difficult
Yeah.
to be a brick wall to bash your head against just to kill
Well, that's
people.
the thing. That it's not even, that's the thing. Needlessly, that is the
Yeah,
opportune
it's
word. Like,
needlessly
there's a
difficult.
difference between, I think difficulty and challenge can be the same, but there's a difference between being difficult or challenging and just being unfair.
Yeah.
It's just
Well, but
unfair.
let's see how more unfair this gets.
Yeah.
I felt like there was nothing we could do but kill our friend here, since the GM wasn't going to move the game along if we didn't attack the enemy on the board, and we still couldn't tell the clones apart. This was only the slightly annoying part, though. Phase 2 began with the main topic of this post. See, through the first battle, each GM from all the tables were writing tally marks on the whiteboard at the end of the room. They do this all the time, mostly to mess with people, but also to signify progress to other GMs. It was revealed to us that each tally mark on the board corresponded to the number of clones that were killed across all tables. That wasn't all, though. as that number was converted into sorcery points for the mage BBEG to use during her phase 2. So opening up phase 2, our GM used twin spell with power word kill and instantly kills both me and our fighter. Our sorcerer attempted to counterspell, but was counterspelled in return. Reminder, everyone in our party is no higher than level 8. I'm surprised I didn't just pack up and leave right there and then. I just sat there silently watching a character I'd built up over a year die for nothing. The fighter's player almost started crying. The clones powering up the mage was not well explained at all, and even if it had been, we had to kill at least 7 of them to progress our table, and there were 7 plus tables fighting more of them. I don't think it was possible for her not to ever gain enough sorcery points to twin spell it. The fighter was revivified by a cleric, but was then also disintegrated soon after. To be honest, I mentally checked out of the session once I was permadead, so some of the info is gleaned through Discord messages from the time. The only reason the party didn't TPK was a clutch wild magic moment where the sorcerer got reincarnated mid-combat and thus regained their HP and I think some other sorcery points fully. Many of the other tables had TPKs or almost TPKs. I heard the words, quote, kill quota floating around, which was a meme we had when I was GMing the games the year prior. I honestly think they just took it literally and had an actual kill quota for how many characters they wanted to kill during the session, including people who were later resurrected in some way. There were over 20 character deaths between the tables, where there were about 6 or 8 tables with 6 players each. I just felt like such a terrible way to it just felt like such a terrible way to end a really great year. As my friend commented, clearly a skill issue. We should have just twin spelled Death Ward beforehand. TLDR, twin spelled power word kill on a level 7/8 party during the finale of our college game and kind of ruined the year for me. Top comment was what part of this was fun for anybody? I really so look, I'm all for clever out of game mechanics. I'm all for, doing things to try to make things more difficult. But this is a little bit out of depth for I think what the party level was. And I know you can't go off CR, and I know that like just saying blanket across the
I
board, this is too
mean,
much is not necessarily a fair way to do this. But man,
I don't know, bro. Like, here's the problem, right? I'm gonna go off the cuff and just based on context clues, make the assumption that this BBEG was a 20th level sorcerer spellcaster. Um, if maybe not even also somehow with wizard spells in there too, maybe I don't know. Either way, um, going up against a party of I guess 6 level 7 to 8 players.
it just seems a little bit fucked.
The issue being with that is 20th level spellcasters, no matter what, they are again, they are akin to demigods. It's like their CR, I don't think is even necessarily 20. I think their CR would be higher than 20 for a 20th level. Because literally, like what? CR 13 or 15, I think, are like level 9 spellcasters. They're like 9th level spellcasters, I think. Like, let me even see, like a fucking what would it be? Like a drow matron, she's and so it's like if you have literally a CR 15 creature as being like a 9th level spellcaster, then a 20th level spellcaster, like, yeah, where would their CR even land at that point where you're just like, okay, it doesn't matter if you have 6 or 7 level 7 to 8 characters. You drop one meteor swarm on them, and they're all most likely they're all going to be incinerated. They're gone. They're going to be obliterated. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like,
It
it's
doesn't
just like
seem fair.
it's not. That's the thing. That's what we're saying. It's just blatantly unfair. It's not difficult. It's not challenging. It's just unfair. And it's just like that. Like, what are you doing here with that? Like, that doesn't make any sense. What save 20. It's not telling me what level spell. Okay, but hang on. For a drow matron mother, she can cast. Dang, wait, blade where she can cast plane shift. So that's a 7th level spell. So she would have to be okay. So drow matron, she'd probably be more like a 15th level spellcaster at that point, then I guess. Like 14th level spellcaster, then, technically speaking. Although this is also the newer one where she just gets it. Oh, technically, the original Drow Matron Mother, she is actually a 20th level spellcaster, and she has a challenge rating 20. Oh, yeah, no, never mind. The original Drow Matron Mother actually does have like, yeah. Yeah, she the original Drow Matron Mother, the legacy, like she's got like all of that. So then what about the new one then? She's still challenged 20, but command, thaumaturgy, banishment. Yeah, she doesn't have like oh no, she still does actually. She still does, yeah, she still has okay. So I guess they are still trying to say that like 20th level is challenge rating 20, I guess, but I don't know, man. I don't think that that's true at all. Because like, oh well, because again, I think with some other CR20 monsters, a party of 6 to 7 level 8, 7, 8 characters, I think they could contend with them. Like they could beat an ancient white dragon, you know? Like, I definitely think that that's possible. It would be hard. Like, I think it would still be very difficult, but I think they could do it. But with a spellcaster who can just fly in the air and just call down a meteor swarm or cast invulnerability on themselves or, disintegrate you, like, or in this case, power word kill. Let me see. Like what, 7 to 8? I don't think they have the ability to have over 100 hit points unless you have like a D10 at that point, right? And you roll decently.
Yeah.
Like it's just like
it's weird.
It's basically almost guaranteed that this party that they could wipe them out. Like that's the problem. If it's literally a guarantee that at any point, if this BBEG wanted to, they could just decimate the whole party, you probably are not having a fair, like a truly fair encounter right here.
No.
Like again, meteor swarm. That's it. It's over. It doesn't matter. Even if they save from it, like what meteor swarms, like it's 40 d6 total of dice, 20 d6 bludgeoning, 20 d6 fire. On average, you're dealing what? Freaking, see, 120 would be half, 60. Yeah, on average, you'd probably dealing like what, 130 or something damage around there, maybe. Like it's on average over 100 damage. On average, it would be over 100 damage. Like, yeah, and it's just like, even if they made the save, like,
it just seems weird, man.
I mean, again, just we've touched on this, I think, like as much as we can. It's just really unfortunate. I've also been in that position too, where you've played a game for a while and you build up to kind of the final climactic, and it kind of just didn't work out the way you wanted. Like the climax was kind of left wanting, and at least, but in my experience, like it wasn't the GM made a mistake or necessarily. I mean, it was kind of just more like due to the mechanics of it and kind of the decisions they made, because we were all so powerful. Because to be fair, for us, we had the opposite problem. We were all super way overpowered for our campaign by the end of it. Like we were all level 20 and technically kind of even beyond level 20 due to like specific boons and other like blessings that we had received. And so like they did have to do some things that were a little bit more crazy in order to even present like an actual kind of challenge. So that it's a bit different in my case. But with this one, it is really unfortunate because it was just like, you've been playing for a year with this character only for them to literally just get taken out before they can even do anything, just because their HP was 100 or lower. And you're just like, okay, like, okay, like, yeah, what do you do? What do you do at that point? Like, how do you do anything else besides just be like, okay, like, I mean, I guess, their friend is, I guess their friend might be right, kind of, and saying like, you should have cast Death Lord or something. It's like, well, yeah, I guess, but also, I mean, Power Word Kill is just kind of one of those spells that it just kind of sucks. I will be honest. Like I've never been a huge fan of Power Word Kill because it is just kind of an FU spell. Like it is. Like and yeah, to be fair, it's a 9th level spell, it's one of the most powerful spells out there, but it is kind of just, in my opinion, a bit lazy and aggravating because it's like you don't even get a save. Like
Yeah.
you just have to hope your hit points are high enough, and eventually, if they do enough damage, they can just take you out. Or and then you can hopefully revive people. But that's why again, powered kill is only viable if you're facing a high level party, because at that point they have a shit ton of revival abilities and stuff too. So it's like that. Okay, that's fair. Powered kill can work there. But if you're again level 8, at level 8 they only have 4th level spells at max. Like, and that's only if they're full casters. Like,
Yeah.
meaning that they only have 3 3rd level spells. So even if they had Revivify, they'd only be able to do it, depending on if they have, I guess they're using new rules, although I think this may have been a while ago. I forget exactly how long ago this was. But maybe this was more recently. So if that's the case, hopefully they're playing with updated rules. So maybe they, if they had a paladin, a cleric, I think maybe even a ranger, like they could have Revivify, but it's also only if those players took those spells, which again, I don't see why you ever shouldn't. Like I don't understand people who don't. But either way, it's unfortunate. It's just sad. Let's go ahead. Let's move on to the next one for the day, shall we? This one, also as a heads up for y'all, gets a little bit aggravating and frustrating for sure. But it's also kind of silly and funny at certain points, but also trigger warning for a bit of potential domestic violence, as for anybody. This story is titled "Anyone Can Dog Paddle" by Alan Daros Sunsong. Everyone has that story about that guy, and I suppose I am no exception. The year was 1991, and I had been playing D&D for about a little over a year at this point. So let's begin. A long time ago, second edition AD&D was still new. Dude, we're getting like some older editions today. All right. At a long time ago, second edition AD&D was still new. At a table, actually a pool table, far, far away. My brother in name and not blood, and one of the closest friends I've ever had, was our forever DM, Rick. Mainly, he was stuck in the role because he had the unfortunate gift of being the best goddamn GM any of us had ever played under. Rick was imaginative, quick-witted, and able to roll with whatever our band of chaotic chucklefucks would do. We had a regular band of idiots who showed up every weekend and played, and we were all working together at the same job site. And those were the halcyon days when it wasn't if we were playing, but when. Now, to understand this story better, it's important to know more about my GM. He was a fair and honest individual. He would always listen respectfully to the reason why you wanted to do something monumentally stupid, or if you objected to a rule. And to his credit, if you could make a valid reason for why your character tried that or why you disagreed, he'd allow it. However, once that discussion was over, the final ruling would stand. And generally, that was that. Arguing rarely happened, partly because while he was mainly a teddy bear, he was also a genetic beast. To put in context, he was scouted by the Edmonton Eskimos CFL team while still 16 as a potential offensive lineman. Yeah, we're talking that kind of huge. So, one of our regular players, Mike, mentioned that a new guy none of us really knew who wanted to play. Our GM agreed to run a trial game and asked me to sit in with my mage/cleric elf to help balance out the party. It was a chance to game, so yeah, I was in. Enter Dorcas. Obviously not his real name, but close enough. Now, Dorcas also ended up dragging his then girlfriend along to the game unexpectedly. But GM always had some spare NPCs, and they simply fleshed out a quick backstory for her. To her credit, she seemed actually interested in trying this weird little game of dice and math. Amazingly, she got into the RP side of it rather quickly, and was a hell of a fun rogue to play with. Dorcas, however, demanded, yes, demanded, to play a paladin. It's always paladins or rogues, bro. Why is it always the paladins or rogues? So Rick obliged, since this was supposed to be fun, right? Mike had his fighter with a swashbuckler kit, Dorcas had his paladin, girlfriend had her rogue, and I had my mage/cleric. We were playing around level 7 in our main campaign, so we all started at that level for simplicity's sake. After all, if it went well, we'd be adding them to the main game. 1 hour in, and Dorcas has challenged just about every single thing the GM has said. Now, I knew my buddy very well, and I also knew the little signs that he was losing his cool slowly. And while he was the most gentle giant I knew, two things pissed him off like nothing else: players who wouldn't let things go once the ruling was made, and guys who mistreated women. He ended up hitting the lottery with Dorcas. Throughout that hour, Dorcas had been very rude and demeaning to his girlfriend. "You can't do that." She absolutely could. "Don't be stupid. I know better. Do what I say." He did not know better. This poor girl was browbeaten for almost every great idea that wasn't his that she tried. While Mike spoke up occasionally, I tried to calmly explain many times it was her character and to just let her play how she wants. I was ignored. Throughout this, Rick repeatedly stepped in and tried not to kick him out. Throughout this, I'm watching Rick's little vein in his left temple flare up. That's a trigger sign number 1. Then came the river. Now, swimming in those days was considered a skill. Once you used your precious and rare non-weapon proficiency to buy, for that matter. We always took swimming, as it was an unwritten rule in our games that the GM would enforce it, and both newcomers were warned during character creation about this very fact. So, there comes a time when we need to flee some foes chasing us and see a boat on the other side of a quick-moving river. Unarmored as I am, I dive in and start swimming. As do Mike, enchanted leather armor, small penalty, but he makes it. Girlfriend, padded armor, and Dorcas, wearing half plate. Oof. DM calls for swimming checks. Dorcas rolls and says that he succeeds. We all look at his die roll. We rolled open table. And my math club brain can't understand how he could possibly succeed, as I know he didn't take swimming as that's a stupid waste of proficiency, in his own words. Despite us all warning him to the contrary. Calmly, DM asks how that was possible. Dorcas asserts, everyone can swim. It's an innate ability. Anyone can dog paddle. You're saying that your character that cannot swim, wearing 80 pounds of ill-fitting steel, hops into a racing river and dog paddles across. Yeah, no, you sink like a stone. Start rolling constitution checks for drowning. This begins almost a half hour of bitching and moaning, the likes of which I have never seen since. Toddlers would have been impressed. I see GM grabbing the edge of the pool table, and I can hear wood creaking from the grip. That's trigger sign number 2. And that little vein is now beating like animal from the Muppets on a drum. Then the worst happens. Girlfriend tells him to calm down, and his hand goes backwards for a second, like he was preparing to land a little backhand. Uh-oh. I look over, and GM is rising to his feet like Mount Doom about to erupt. I grab Dorcas, I'm 6 foot and was about 220 pounds back then, and physically drag him upstairs, all 130 pounds soaking wet of him. I quickly grab his coat and figuratively toss him in his shoes outside and tell him to run if he enjoys walking. Girlfriend follows, unfortunate, but she was great, and pleads for him to just go. He actually started to get pissed at me until he hears the trot of giant feet ascending from the basement and sees what is basically a 5e barbarian in a full rage coming through the door behind me. I am futilely trying to hold Rick back when I hear unshod feet slapping on the driveway. He ran barefoot in a northern Alberta Canadian winter around minus 40 degrees Celsius down the block to his car, and he was never seen or heard from again. We gave his girlfriend a drive home as an apology. We were 16 and 17 at the time and didn't know how to handle domestic situations like that. So we just told her she could do better and invited her back to play if she liked. I heard a rumor that she joined one of the local games in town with a new boyfriend, so I hope she got out okay. End post. Boy, oh boy. I really do hope that she got better, though. I really hope that she was able to get out of that terrible situation, but
it sounds like it.
Boy, oh boy, though, it's some funny-ass shit when you see a punk-ass little bitch boy like that start running for his damn life, knowing what's going to happen to him, bro. Honestly, only disappointing fact was that he didn't get his ass beat. Absolutely wish that it would have happened. just ground his ass into the pavement. He deserves it. Like Jesus, bro. Like this, right from jump, bro. Being like, I demand to be a paladin. Where it's like, okay, I mean, maybe you're just, excited about the game. Nothing wrong with that. But then literally starts to question every single decision a GM makes. Now, again, it would be one thing if the GM was, an absolute monumental douchebag McGee himself and was doing a lot of very questionable or messed up, calls or scenarios or situations. That would be one thing. Then I'd be like, okay, I think you might be right to question some stuff. If you see, again, like that whole, ancient beholder dragon Tarask we talked about before coming in, like that would probably be a fair thing to question and be like, the hell is that? But for everything that our OP has said, and he did format and structure this whole thing quite nicely. I love the style, buddy. Honestly, my fedora tips to you.
Oh, God damn it.
uh, but that being the case, I personally am liable to believe that his GM seemed pretty dope, pretty awesome of a GM. So it seems weird to me that he's going to sit there and literally try to question every single ruling or call the GM makes. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Sammy?
I mean, this is just a bad. This is a douchebag who decided to play D&D and be an asshole. I don't think it mattered how well the GM did in any sense.
No,
It sounds like the GM did the right thing.
but it's always the interesting thing though on like what was he trying to accomplish? Like if he's gonna sit there and just argue, what was he doing something that was like again questionable that the GM was saying no to?
No.
Like what
No, I
what
think
what
he's just one of those people they rely on being in power in a situation despite obviously being a punk bitch. Um so I think
unfortunate.
that's all it is. I think it's just some people
Even
suck.
Yeah, even worse. And again, his girlfriend, like, she apparently really got into it and she was doing a great job. And it's just like, so I legitimately hope that she got out of that situation and was able to find that other group and have a great time, hopefully with a super far better boyfriend that, she actually deserves, like, instead of that fucking,
So
ugh,
that's shit.
he should, Jesus. All right, let's go ahead. Let's move on to the last story of the day, and then we'll get out of here.
Sure.
Go ahead and take it away, Sammy.
I have a short one. It's not really a horror story, but it made me laugh, and we could probably talk about it a bit. Matt Mercer hater kicked out of a game shop by Chaos Angel 07. After being involved in the TTRPG space for a while now, I finally have a story that I can post here. Also, sorry if the tag is wrong. Anyways, let's get to it. A friend of mine, let's call her Anne, works at a game shop that recently opened in our city. As part of the opening, the shop had been inviting DMs to both possibly host and teach newcomers how to play D&D and other TTRPGs. Awesome, love that. I had been running D&D 5e games for Anne and our immediate friend group for a while now, mostly several one-shots and a mini campaign that lasted for around 20 or so sessions. Hey, that's a lot of sessions,
That's
man.
not bad,
Don't call that
honestly.
a mini campaign.
I
She
mean,
wanted
it might
to,
be, and it depends on
yeah,
how
I
long
know.
maybe the campaigns are, but hey,
She wanted to invite me and see if I was open to it, and I was more than happy and even a little excited. Anyways, the day of the event came, and it was quite the turnout. There were about 50 to 60 people there. Some were checking out MTG games, others were checking the 40k figurines, and me and one other DM, who we'll call Jack, were prepping and chatting in the back with battle maps and figures ready. Jack and I were visited frequently as several people saw the sign of us teaching D&D and other TTRPGs. Obviously, we introduced 5e as a starter since we decided that would be the easier one to talk about. For the ones looking for something else, Jack talked about
Symbaroum.
Symbaroum,
Yeah,
and
Symbaroum, I guess.
I talked about 13th Age. I assume those are other
I was
TTRPGs
gonna
that
say
I've not played.
I don't think I've heard of either of these. Interesting.
Well, now I want to look. Now I want to just look it up.
A
Real
little
quick.
bit. I'm tittled. My fancy has been tickled. Titillated.
I don't know. Let's see.
13th or Symbaroum. Let's see here.
Symbaroum is a fantasy tabletop RPG. Oh,
Oops. Huh.
well, there's so many of these.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Interesting. Free League Publishing. Dark, Gritty, and Deadly. It was first released in Swedish in 2014. Okay.
They pride themselves on being more simplistic in their rule set.
Fair. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, I mean, you know, the
I
artwork is
mean,
definitely pretty cool.
13th Age
Like,
is similar to 3 and 3.5 and Pathfinder.
fair.
Okay. But it's a D20. They're both D20 based systems.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay. Usually a lot of stuff
Yeah,
out
it's
like a
like
2D6
D6.
base.
Yeah, it's D6s. Huh. All right, cool stuff. Hey, y'all, go ahead and feel free to go check out Symbaroum and the 13th Age if
Yeah,
you're
I
looking for maybe
guess.
some alternative, you know, TTRPG systems you might be looking at that still utilize the D20 system. All right.
Um, we mostly got little kids and a few young adults who were interested, and we even ran some very short campaigns for them to just give them a feel of how the game ran. All in all, they looked like they were having fun. Cue the problem, a guy we'll call Dom. During a lull in the activities, I was chatting with someone who had been watching Critical Role. She'd never played D&D before, but was super interested in it and just gushing about CR. There wasn't much to do, so the two of us just talked about Vox Machina and the Mighty Nine. In comes Dom, who out of nowhere just said, Matt Mercer is such a shit DM. And no, not paraphrasing here, he actually said that. Dom quickly sat down and began to go on some weird tirade about how, without Matt Mercer's figurines or battle maps or all this high budget stuff, he's nothing. I've had DMs who can run circles around him. This caught me off guard to say the least. Now, I will admit I'm biased towards Matt Mercer. He's been my inspiration in being a DM. I try to do voices for NPCs, design worlds as interesting as he does, and make my players feel powerful with narrating their actions. Am I the best at that? Hell no. But I do try, and he continues to make me try and improve. So I will say I got a little agitated, but I didn't want to cause a ruckus. The girl I was with and myself began to talk to him about why we think he's a good DM and so on, and Jack even came along and joined in, though he thought we were just talking about Mercer and not defending him. When Dom realized no one shared his opinions, he got pretty pissed and defensive, saying, I didn't say he was a bad DM, just that. And the girl rightly said, But you said he was shit? And that really pissed him off, and he began to make a scene, telling us that we sure love to suck Matt Mercer's and we'd never be as famous as him, and also how we probably don't even know how to play real D&D. At this point, Anne noticed this and promptly kicked him out with the help of the other staff. She apologized and said he was a big problem. He had been caught stealing MTG cards more than once and even sold cheap cards for super high prices to young kids who don't know any better. He was banned, but the owner gave him his one last chance. Needless to say, that chance is gone. Anywho, the girl was deeply just shocked by what happened. I reassured her and said she did nothing wrong and that whatever that guy was on was not worth worrying about. Eventually, she calmed down, and I gave her her first taste of D&D. She loved it and plans to come back and hopefully play for a full campaign. That's my story. I hope it wasn't too much. Have a good day, everyone, and hope you all enjoyed this. I
I mean, overall, like this particular story, like it actually isn't that bad at all. Like this guy just sounds like like sounds like an ass. Like he's just kind of seeming a bit of an entitled asshole who was just kind of looking to maybe appear edgy or whatever, and obviously just selling crap cards to kids because they don't know it better is like some
yeah,
super
just a
shit
scumbag.
behavior. But yeah, I mean, you know, but it's like, hey, some down below, like we also have some comments that are like, I'm not a fan of Matt's playing style, but the vitriol there is a bit much. As well as like, I will say that I disagree with specific rulings and styles that Matt has, but he and Brennan Lee Mulligan have influenced my DMing style more than anyone else and taught me to look beyond the rules as written to do what works for my players. And I'll say that as a world builder, Matt has me beat by any stretch of the imagination. And another one says, purely out of curiosity, do you have any examples off the top of your head of what you don't like about Matt's style? And then a different commenter says, Mercer asks a lot for trivial perception and knowledge rolls whose entire purpose is to see if the dice are going to hide the wonderful backstory he makes or allow the story to move on. That's a bad habit because a GM should never block the story. How fail-forward situations should be is debatable, but roll to see if you need to try again is always a poor encounter design. That said, we are very exposed to hundreds, if not thousands, of hours of DMing. This is my biggest nitpick. I think it's a stretch to say he's a bad GM. Maybe sometimes he just needs to stall for time to think. Who knows? Another dude said, it's more of a vibe thing for me, nothing rules-wise per se. So it's like, one thing that I will say, I think we've talked maybe a little bit about Matt Mercer and stuff in the past, like especially like with the Mercer effect, where we reviewed some of the the classes or subclasses that come from Critical Role.
Hmm.
Like I I don't see how anybody could possibly argue that Matt is he's an amazing GM. He just is. Like there is no real ifs, ands, or buts about it. He just is. And as we've talked about before, being an amazing GM doesn't mean following the rules to an absolute T. In fact, many times it probably means, like one of the commenters just said, not always allowing the game to be bogged down or restricted by that, because the point of it is to have fun and to be interesting and cool. Now, obviously, they have the added caveat of they are now a literal business now. They are a show for entertainment as well now. It's not even
Yeah,
just
it's
a
a bit different.
personal game. That being said, people are trying to make claims, I guess, that he like this commenter says he makes a lot of trivial perception or knowledge rolls whose entire purpose is to see if the dice are going to hide stuff. I would just straight up disagree with that. Like Matt only ever really requires or calls for rolls when someone is asking for specific information, and that's the whole point of rolls, where you're just like, hey, you want to see something or notice something, you roll a perception check. Like that is how that works. You want to try to recall something of history to see if you know anything about this thing, roll a history check or an arcana check or what, like that's how the game works. That is actually literally following the rules. Like otherwise he just tells them about it. Like he literally will often give the players, and therefore also us as the watchers, like, hey, he gives like convenient kind of things or whatever, like, or NPCs or even just books or texts in that moment to give the story to his players and also then us actively. Like I don't think at any point Matt has withheld information deliberately, like behind something that made sense, because that's how the game works. If a character is trying to remember or see if they know something and they fail a check,
I mean, there had probably been instances of it, but like
I
as
mean,
far as
maybe just
DM faux
statistically
pas,
speaking.
go, everyone's done it. There, I've had to do a lot of talking with the people I play with about the whole, if you don't want people to not know what's behind the thing, don't have them roll. And more and more on our Tuesday campaign, our DM he's asked for a roll, and then like 10 seconds later when people start rolling and he sees some of the numbers and he realizes that like he wanted to give us an opportunity to roll high,
Yeah.
but we didn't, and now he's like, well shit, this isn't this doesn't really
Well,
work if you don't know about it. And I feel like an idiot. And he was like, all right, actually, I'm sorry. Like he's like,
well,
this shouldn't have
and
been a
that's
roll to
I
begin
was gonna say
with.
that that's
And
perfectly fine. Or here's the thing, though, right? If you want to give them a chance to roll at that point, just let them succeed no matter what. You know what I mean? If this is some information that it's like, hey, is vital, and you're like, well, give me a roll. Like, make the DC astronomically low, or don't even give a DC at all. Just be like, you rolled. If you rolled bad, be like, well, this is stuff that you guys would probably like have. So you would the DC is low, so you would get this anyway. My GM has done that too, where it's literally like, this is some information that my character like has dedicated a lot of time to, and he asked for like a roll, and I rolled really bad like twice. Like I rolled badly, and I like used a luck point or like an inspiration or a DM inspiration to re-roll, and I rolled badly again. And he was like, "All right, you used an inspiration, so you know what? I'll give it to you." Like so it's like, if this is information, I'm pretty sure Matt has probably done that too, where it's just like it's a low roll, because it's like, yeah, rolling is part of the game, and having an opportunity to roll high can feel good. That's part of what gives you that like euphoric kind of hit of accomplishment. So once again, though, I don't think it's like, but there are obviously moments too where it's like, hey, you're trying to get some extra information and you fail the roll for knowledge. You're like, well, then you don't get this extra bit of information that could help you. Like
yeah,
it's
there's
not
definitely levels to it.
it's
I
not
just,
necessarily vital, but like,
yeah, it's just one of those things where you're like, oh man.
and that's again, that's my point being too, is just like, there are certain decisions that I don't agree with Matt either. Like I feel like, at least for campaign 2, I felt like he took things way too easy on his party.
In some aspects, yeah, definitely.
At least compared to both campaign 1 and campaign 3, like I don't think anyone actually died at any point in campaign 2. I can't recall. I might be wrong about that, to be fair. Because campaign 2 was just the one that I liked the least, and even though a lot of other people like it a lot, like I didn't like a lot of the characters. I found a number of them to be kind of annoying or obnoxious a lot of the time. And
Oh, the Mighty
then
Nine.
yeah, the Mighty Nine. Like I didn't like the characters nearly as much as the first one. And even just the way that a lot of things would happen. Yeah, it was just like so much of it was just like, I was bored with a lot of it because I felt like Matt kind of, even with all these crazy cool like bosses or whatever, it's like I felt like he kind of took it. I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. Obviously somebody died. Molly Mock died, but he was like, that was like the only death though. Like everyone else, like nobody else died at any point. Molly Mock was the only one that died. Duh. I completely forgot because obviously that's how Caduceus came into play. But after that, it was like, but also to be fair, I think too, Molly Mock only really died because they were fighting with only like half their party, because I think Laura was gone
Yeah,
because of the baby and
yeah.
Travis was also gone. So it was
It
like
was a half group.
that only happened because they were fighting literally at like half capacity, and only he died. And then like, yeah, and then, so it was like, I still feel like he took it like way easy on them and most other, because even like in the final fight where he had like this crazy badass almost got like demigod kind of creature, like he could have just gone just balls to the wall and took out like a number of the people, a number of the characters, but he didn't. Like he didn't focus fire on any of them, even though he could have. Even when some of them were weak, he'd like attack one of them and then switch off to attack another one, and then sort of like. So he wasn't really playing or moving to like really destroy them, which I was like, again, it felt more, it felt not less genuine, kind of, maybe, I don't know, it's difficult for me to kind of explain, but I felt just kind of like, again, like it was more deliberate of like, why should I care? Like I feel like you it's more of a narrative thing where you're going to let them win just for the sake of it, rather than it being a real like roll of the dice, like you are playing to your best capacity. But hey, a lot of people have a lot of thoughts and feelings about Matthew Mercer and stuff. Like, I don't believe in the Mercer effect, or well, I believe it is a thing where we've seen plenty in other stories where people do come to tables and they're like, "You need to play more like Matt Mercer. You need to GM like Matt Mercer," and it's like, Matt Mercer isn't the only GMing style, and Matt Mercer GMing style too has also over the years changed and shifted and evolved. Like, he's not just doing the same thing he's always done. Yes, there are a number of aspects and traits where I think every GM should absolutely take from Matt Mercer, because he's taken those same traits from other GMs that he's seen and played with before. Like, it's not like he's the first one to come up with this kind of play style or whatever. Like, maybe he's the most famous at this point, but he's certainly not the first. And so, yeah, obviously taking things like that and applying it to your own games, like take the good stuff and try to leave out or refrain from the bad stuff as much as possible. But other than that, it's like, it's not a thing. No, don't be just like Matt Mercer, because you're not Matt Mercer. No one else is like Matt Mercer. We're all different people. We're all individual people. So it's a waste of time trying to do it that way. Like, just the best way I think you can probably be like Matt Mercer is do your best just to have fun. Do your best to try to make your games as fun as possible for everyone. Not just one, not just two.
There's so much that goes into that, and like it's not
Everyone.
fair to really compare at all.
No, it's not. There's no point to it either. And I feel more so like a lot of the haters and stuff are more so have to do with people just being kind of jealous, or like because of how successful and famous they have gotten from this thing, right? Everybody would love to be able to do this and be so successful from it, And I think a lot of people are just like, yeah, or whatever. And it's just like, and again, there are some legitimate critiques about Matt's style, like I said, for sure. But Matt also has never come across as being an asshole or a douche or arrogant, conceited, or anything like that. Like he seems like a legitimately, genuinely good, nice guy from everything that I've seen and witnessed. And so it's like, he's not doing this for his own personal ego or fame. He's doing this because he loves it. He enjoys it.
Yeah, that's
And
what he likes doing.
yeah, and he, so fuck off. Like stop. Like go away. He's not the one claiming that he's like, D&D Jesus or something, okay? So you have like it's messed up for you to hate on him because he's just playing a game with his friends and you just happen to be able to watch it.
I'm like, oh no. Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing to like, I think you might not like his style, you might not think that it's conceivable for you. And I think that's okay. I think, definitely I aspire to, I want to be like him in some ways that he does
Yeah,
things.
absolutely.
I don't think I will be the way things the way he is. You know what I mean? Like I'm not confident in it, whatever.
Hey, nothing wrong with that
But
at all.
there's still something like there you can learn, you can
Exactly.
aspire to be better or learn, and
I
I
mean, there
think that's good
are,
enough. I don't know why people
yeah.
have to be this like, well, I don't
I
look
mean,
good.
just one way there. I don't know why people have to like literally simp for him, like
Yeah,
or
he's
just
not God,
yeah,
but
or just
he's
hate
he's
him.
a really good DM
He's a nice guy. He's a
who,
guy who's just
yeah, he also
trying to
seems
make
like a
a
genuinely good
yeah.
person.
It's like he just seems like a
Which
guy who's trying to make a cool game for his friends for the most part. Like that's um yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel the same way about Brendan Lee Mulligan. Like I don't necessarily always agree or like that. Like if we want to talk about people who don't really follow rules, I mean, Brennan does not. But there's
no,
also a reason for that too. Like his like Dimension 20, like they have like literally like they have mini campaigns. That's what they do. Like it is like a scheduled mini campaign thing where they go through all this stuff in like the totality of like what, maybe like 20 sessions max sometime. Like it depends. And so it's like for that, yeah, you can't, and they're usually I think only supposed to be around like 2, maybe 3 hours max, maybe 4. I forget exactly. I haven't seen Dimension 20 a little bit now, but like they have a very strict kind of thing, so it makes sense to be like, you know what? We're not going to get bogged down in a lot of the rule mechanics and stuff because this is the format for how we are presenting this on this platform.
yeah,
So it's like, but because also though, no one can say that it doesn't yield to some amazingly hilarious, fucking fun, entertaining moments. Like again, no, Brendan is super loose and open with the rules and stuff for rule of cool. There's nothing wrong with that. It's
no,
just a different style of play, and it can be super fun. I love that too. I am also a bit more of an arbiter of rule of cool. I usually like to subscribe to that more than it being like, no, you can't do that because the rules. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, well, if it's a cool idea, if you are like really imaginative and it sounds badass, like let's see how we can make this happen. Yeah, like I'm not gonna say yes immediately necessarily, but I will absolutely be like, you know what? Let's see if we can make this work. Like overall, people, players, or GMs, again, as we said, I think we've said before, take the good with the bad, right? Or rather, take the good and try to separate the bad, right? Matt Mercer isn't perfect. Brendan Lee Mulligan isn't perfect, but it is undeniable in any way, shape, or form that they are both exceedingly talented and amazing GMs in their own right. Two pretty completely different styles and energy, but both of them are absolutely incredible and for different reasons. And yeah, not perfect. They have their downsides and their negatives, sure, probably, but it doesn't change the facts.
no, it
uh
doesn't.
yeah, with that, I think that we're about done for the day, y'all. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you stuck with us this long, we appreciate it. Again, astronomically so. Please be sure again to like and comment down below if you haven't already. Subscribe and share the channel. As always, thank you guys so much from the bottom of our hearts, and we will be sure to catch y'all next time when we dive back down into the archive.